and not too interested in what we'd like to do. I'd like us to start off with a word of prayer. So let's go to with ourselves in the hands of the Lord. Anyone who'd like to pray for us? Welcome, Esther. Thank you for joining. Anyone who'd like to pray for us? Would like to unmute and pray? Okay. Let's have prayer. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for the gift of being together to come and learn and to share experiences. As we do that, we ask you, Lord, that you give us the time and the capability and the ability to be able to do so. God, we know there are many commitments and priorities, but we chose to be here. We thank you and we glorify your name. For it's in Jesus' name we pray, trusting and believing. Amen. Okay. So I'd like to hear some expectations around the room in terms of what's interesting for you in this topic. What are you planning to take away? What caught your curiosity to come and join? One or two expectations from us. Feel free to unmute. David, your expectations, maybe. I know we joined early with you. Feel free to unmute. Anyone can unmute your expectations.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Catherine. I think my expectation is just to learn where I have been going wrong in mentoring others and also being mentored.
Okay. Where you've been going wrong in mentoring others and being mentored. Thank you. It's a great expectation. Someone else?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rosemary.
Mine is just to get to learn from what actually mentoring skills are and what remedies I should do myself as an HR when I'm mentoring people, because that is my passion, mentoring people and seeing people grow. So I would really love to know what is it that I have been doing and what direction should I take when doing the same at all times.
Exactly. I like what you say, passion in growing others, and especially if in HR, you're expected to support people so that they reach their potential, they do better, and they continue learning. So that's a great expectation. Thank you, Rosemary. Someone else? Joy, your hand is up. Okay. Anybody else? Expectation? Okay. So we can start.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Irene.
Good morning. Yeah, okay. Don't mind my voice. I'm on bed. I'm on medication, but I'm following. Yeah.
Okay.
So my expectation, like in our organization, we are normally every year, people are asked to volunteer to be mentors. So I'm interested to know. I've never been a mentor myself, but I'm quite interested to be one. So my expectation is just to learn about the HR mentoring skills and how I can be a mentor and how I can be able to use the skills that I will learn today.
That's good, Irene. Yeah. And just out of curiosity, do you have a criteria when the call for mentorship is done in your organization? Is there training, or how has it been done in the past?
There is no criteria really. They just send an email to all staff and people are asked to volunteer. But what they look at is you must have had like 1 year, you must have been with the organization for 1 year and maybe you've been a mentor before. So they just need somebody who can be able to like train the mentees about the organization culture. So it has to be someone who has been with the organization for more than 1 year, who understands the culture well. Yeah.
Okay, great. And are you in HR?
Yes, I'm in HR.
Oh, good. Okay, great. I think that's a great initiative from your organization, especially when they say we want to continue building a culture, making sure that everybody is aligned to it. I think that's a great way in terms of accelerating people's ability for the culture to become part of their DNA. So that's really good. Okay, great. So as you can see on the skill on the first slide, mentoring skills, advice, motivation, direction, coaching, which I'm very which is very dear to me because I'm an executive coach, and then support. So all these things coming together, how do they feel and how do they fit into the bill of mentoring skills? So we will look at them in depth. Feel free to interject as we go along. Feel free to share, and even when I ask questions, then we can always answer them and give some examples of what we have experienced before. Okay. So that's our objectives for the 2 days. For today, we'll try and get to the topic of explain how to give feedback. So, and then Esther will take the rest of the topics tomorrow. So let's first start off with a case study where we are looking at some of the things, and it says, let me quickly just read it out. Derek recently joined Phoenix Software as a software developer. We can relate with that. And he's looking at he has got about 2 years of prior experience from where he was coming from. And then he's received an email from his HR executive before his joining date, And the email read, "Dear Derek, congratulations. We welcome you to the Phoenix Software family." I mean, you can all relate with this, when you get a job where you get an email saying we are looking forward to welcoming you, and So you start feeling like you're part of the family, like what Irene has said. Start building the culture even before people join. Show that duty of care. Show what we are made of. As part of making your tenure with us a pleasurable one, we have identified a mentor for you. Your mentor will be Rachel Smith. She will help you to learn more about Phoenix and make the most out of your job and career with us. Rachel can be reached on that email address. We wish you a very successful tenure with us. Regards, Jennifer Holt, who is the senior HR executive. Okay, so if you receive such an email, what would go through your mind? What would go through your mind? First thing that would come to your mind? Anyone? What would go through your mind?
Can I answer that? If I receive such an email, of course, I will look at the company as having a good culture of accepting their new employees and making them feel at home, and making me feel like making me feel so valuable, and they just want to see me grow. You see, I feel the culture is just good.
True. Yeah. I keep on saying you don't have a second chance to make a first impression, So Rosemary, you're right. First impression, wow, they are even thinking about me ahead of time. Someone else?
Maybe my name is Catherine.
Yes, yeah. Hello, Catherine.
Yeah. So maybe what I can share is maybe try to be the devil's advocate and assume I've never heard of HR mentoring. So the immediate question is mentoring. I thought my credentials were good enough. I'm just saying from a person who has done this. My credentials are good enough. Kwani hawakuona Yani,
Mhm.
I'm being mentored by who? Because you see, the way I understand a mentor is a mentor is the expert. I thought I hired me because I'm an expert from my papers. What do I need a mentor for? You know,
Yeah.
of what some people come and ask you later. Yeah, maybe that is what I can share.
Exactly. So you see different perception as well, you know. So I'm the expert. I'm bringing in my expertise. They didn't tell me this during the interview that maybe when I join, I'll be given a mentor. And what will be the mentor helping me do? You know, I've researched about the company. I know the kind of culture that they have. We've agreed on the terms and conditions. And then kaboom, the first day, they are coming here and they're getting me they are linking me up to a mentor. You know, maybe this mentor, I don't know them. Will we have a chemistry, you know? And they've already made decisions for me. And then I think, will you also be given that opportunity to be my best, you know, if they're already putting blocks and without telling me, you know, so a different perspective, and we can't invalidate that, you know. And I'll tell you of a story where I was also matched with a mentor much later, remind me, on my first day of work as a senior member of joining an organization. Okay. Was it good? Was it bad? I'll tell you that story. Interesting, Catherine, that you pick that perspective. Anybody else? One more perspective, please.
I think from my perspective, mentors are basically meant to help the new employee to have a smooth onboarding. They might be coming in with a very good experience, but you find that things are done differently in different organizations. So with mentors, I'll keep referring to our organizations because we also do the same. We pair up new employees with mentors. And this is to help them understand how things are done in our organization. The culture, somebody might come in and get a very bad culture shock because you find that things are totally different here from compared to where they're coming from. So mentors are just meant to help the employees settle in very fast and smoothly, and also to understand the culture of this organization.
So if you receive this, and that's true, what mentors are supposed to do, amongst many other things. If you got this email, dear Irene, congratulations, and you read this to the end, warm regards, what's your first thought?
The first thought is, wow, this is good. At least I will not feel alone. I feel like I've been welcomed very well, and they are ready to work with me. So I won't get lost. I won't get lost because somebody is working with me on this. That would be my first impression.
Yeah, it's true. I think every thought and process that is done by an organization or even an individual, they want to see the best results out of it. I think that's the basis and the platform as to why the world exists and why we do things. You want to see things done. You want to put up programs, initiatives, processes, structures, frameworks that really bring out the best of what objective you want to achieve. But sometimes it doesn't necessarily go the way you would like it to go because of many things that might come across it. People's perspective, people's expectations, realities of where people are coming from, that thought process of involving the other people who will be partaking these programs that you are putting up, the initiatives and the drives, you know. So, and then that's when it starts going pear-shaped and you think, oh, it was a good thing, but it's not bad. So we come from the premise that what I'm trying to say is that whatever initiatives we put, whatever programs, they mean well. But meaning well, what background work has been done before we unveil them? That's the thing. So if I got this email, I would be excited. Like many of us would be and say, wow, they think about me, this is a place I would like to be and stuff like that, then maybe I would interrogate and say, I would have liked to know who Rachel is before I join. And maybe I also have an opportunity when I go and I start my onboarding process with maybe Jennifer, if she's the one who's in charge. I would say, how did you pair me up with Rachel and stuff like that. So I would be curious to get a little bit of more information. Okay, great. So you have seen that Phoenix really cares about its new hires. That is why they assigned a mentor to the new hire, Derek. Okay, have you ever had a mentor or a coach? And of course, there's a big distinct difference between mentoring and coaching. But today we will be highlighting more on mentoring. I'm happy just to give an analogy between the two as we go along in terms of these two definitions, how they work and the different skills that are required for each and every of these two skills. Okay, so how are mentors and coaches helpful? What are they supposed to bring on board, and how are they expected to act within that that framework of saying, I'm a mentor, I'm a coach, what should I be doing? And the thing is that as human beings, as you get more experience, you will always mentor in pockets. That's what I want to say. You will, or someone will always come and ask for your advice or support in terms of saying, please show me how to do this. Not necessarily at the workplace, even outside, your circles of influence will be able to come and say, this is what I do. We see you as an authority in this area. Please help us. If the people who have good graduate programs really have organizations which have those programs have an opportunity to excel and make people accelerate their learning for them to be able to settle in a bit faster. So we're always mentoring, we're always coaching, we're always counseling, and that's why it's very interesting to see mid-level and to very senior executive job descriptions which bear the one of the responsibilities as coaching and mentoring, But I keep stopping there, and when I go to organizations and I look at those JDs and I say, have you given a KPI? What are your KPIs around mentoring and coaching? And people look and say, oh, we've never thought about it like that. So it's a traditional line that has been used over and over again, without a lot of thought around unpacking it one by one. What does it mean? You are required to mentor, you are required to coach. And how are we going to see a return on investment, or how are we going to evaluate you around that KPI? So I'd like us to think a little bit more of our job descriptions in the organization, where it actually says managers are expected to coach and to mentor. Do you have explicit KPIs for them to be evaluated or measured on during the formal evaluations? Anybody? Close your eyes and see whether those job descriptions bear that line. And when I think about it now, how have you actualized it? Because it's a key critical driver to the success of any organization. Think about it, anyone? Then it will really help us unpack this mentoring topic that we are talking about. Anyone who has that, mentoring and coaching? Have you unpacked it to give reference to the KPIs that are required? How has that been done? Catherine, do you have that in your organization?
Well, for me, I deal with SMEs, and mostly they don't like to put KPIs. As much as KPIs are really the key thing, like you're saying, the consultancy I do are for SMEs, and most of those ones, today you are the cook, tomorrow you can serve. Then they only like the statement to end at, and any other business is given to you. And sometimes that is what makes entrepreneurships not thrive or not grow. But KPIs, if they were actually put into context, they would really make organizations grow, because people would be focused, because they know the target, they know the measuring metrics, and they know how they will be evaluated, because KPIs also help evaluations to be objective, so you don't feel victimized when you are told you have not made it, because then it's a metric. So you can see for yourself, I was explained, I was mentored, I was told how to manage these reports, but I haven't done that. So unajifuta tu mwenyewe.
I like that, yeah. And of course, it's difficult, small SME, medium-sized SMEs. It takes a lot of courage for an SME to grow, to deliberately want to grow. Much more needs to be done. But I think you're doing a good job there in terms of driving and saying that this what needs to be done. So at least they have the knowledge, and as when they actualize it, is another discussion. I agree. Okay, great. Someone else? Anybody else would like to share? Do you have you unpacked it? Have you given it as part of your deliverables? Jane, welcome. How are you doing? I'll pick on you, my peer in the industry.
Thank you for picking on me.
You know me.
Yes, we have mentorship as part of our leaders' deliverables. And we've tried as much as possible to make it a bit more structured, so that it's able to be linked to our what we call performance enablement on the system. So it docks the sessions, and you're able to, for the person being mentored, the mentee, to put down some of the areas that they've covered. So yeah.
Okay. And at the end of the year, the leaders are measured against how many people they have mentored. Are there other criteria that are looked into to make sure that the program is working, or even the mentees have?
I think what is most, sorry about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what adds value in evaluating at the end of the year is the feedback received from the mentees. So the mentee says where they started from and where they're at today, how the mentorship has helped them, and the areas of growth that they have noticed. So we look at that mentee feedback.
Exactly. Good. Very well put in terms of it's a two-way traffic. I have my mentor, there's the mentee, then the mentee is giving feedback, what they have learned from the mentor, and it's a continuing revolving wheel for us to be able to see where we are going. So I keep challenging people, when you have this responsibility bestowed to line managers, then let's actualize it so that it's seen to be working, and it translates to many things. Your bottom line, your retention, your succession planning, your performance management, building a strong culture, your brand image. There are too many things that you can benefit from if you have mentorship programs in your organization. Some are very well structured in organizations, some are done in pockets here and there, and nothing, but if you're deliberate about it, then we have a better outcome around it. Okay, so let's just unpack around in coaching and mentoring, so that that is well defined. Anybody around these two terminologies, are they one and the same? Are they the same? Is there some gray area? Is there somewhere where they interject and are they mutually exclusive? Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can share here.
Yeah.
The aspect of mentorship is the mentor is the expert, but in coaching, the ability lies in the person being coached. But let me use your words, how to unpack themselves in the organizations and how to utilize what they have as the abilities, the skills, is there. It's lying somewhere dormant, but it needs to be motivated to come out. So the person has what it takes, but they are not able to deliver. Probably they find the environment hostile, or it is a totally different thing. Like, maybe let me give an example. We are looking at a sales and marketing person. Yeah, they are probably working in Coca-Cola before. And Coca-Cola has its own ways of doing things, and what is the brand product is Coke. Then you come here and it's a different company and its brand product and the way they do their production is different, but you are the marketer. So now a coach would be helpful to a person with experience, because they are just telling them that what you have is actually useful here. I'm just helping you to make it useful here. You know, like turn the skill, but for use in this different company. But a mentor on the other side is the expert. Yeah, it's more like a teacher-student kind of a relationship, where I am the one who is the expert, so I'm the one telling you this is what needs to be done here. So I think the other one is more like a counselor. They take a backseat, they just help to restart. You know, they jumpstart you. Coaches jumpstart you. You have something that is in you that can work. Yeah, maybe that's what I can do, what I can say.
Yeah, you've unpacked it very well. Just as a rejoinder, just to put it in context of Catherine's explanation. A mentor, as we will see, has the skills. They are more experienced than the other person who needs to get the skill and to draw from the experiences and from their skills and experiences and everything else that comes with it. A coach, you've put it very well, you know, a coach will not provide solutions to the coachee or to the client, as we call them. So we are partners, and the questions that a coach asks ignite deep thought and reflections to the client for them to be able to find their own solutions. I really like your example where you come from an organization, you join another one, and you are struggling because maybe Coke had maybe a very processed and driven way to do their business and to be able to penetrate the market with their goods and services and products. But these are the company you saw potential and you joined. So you'd come to the coach, and really the problem statement or the goal that you would like to achieve is that, yes, indeed, I'm in this organization, but I am struggling to do my job, you know. So how do I get clarity around this issue that I have? You know, the branding is totally different from where I came from. This different, and I want to make it work. So that would be the goal. The coach will not have a solution. You know, we just ask you questions around that, and by and large, sooner than later, you will find that yes, the skills that I came with, the skills that I possess, the experiences, the competencies, I'm able to go and push my agenda where I am right now. So thank you, Catherine, for putting that. So a coach will never give you solutions. On the other side, the mentor will share all the experiences, will show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll link you up with networks that they think that are good for you and will work for your circumstances and what you hope to achieve. And let's also not lose sight that it's not just about professional mentoring, but also personal mentoring. I see people taking up things of interest that they like, and they say, well, this is my passion, this is my area. I enjoy this, and I would like to get more experience, and I would like to look at people who have done this differently. So, and they go and look out for a mentor. So do you think that a mentor should necessarily be your friend? At the workplace, then your colleagues, you cannot stop working with them. But let's say you want to have, you want to increase your financial literacy, and you want to plug into world of the unknown, you know, create more wealth for yourself, you know. I say wealth very deliberately, not money, creating wealth. So do you look for a friend of yours who is very wealthy and say, well, I want mentorship? Or from a personal, things that are not really work related, how do you choose that mentor? How do you, and you really feel that you need to, how do you select that person? Are they your friend? Are they people that, how does that come along? I hear people asking me that question all the time. Anyone? The good thing about me is that I just speak. Anyone would like to share? And we can go along getting a mentor who is not specifically inside the organization. What can you do? David? Well, we park that towards the end, okay? Let's park that towards the end. Okay. So, why mentor people? Mentoring helps people as well as organizations to engage employees in a disciplined review of their performance and overall organizational talent, guide development activities of employees, bring HR systems and processes into alignment, assure continuous continuity of key positions. So why do we want to make sure that we are mentoring people in the organizations? So these are some of the reasons as to why. We go on to say that, did I miss a slide? Yeah, okay. Okay, so we go on to say to develop an efficient workforce by enabling decision makers to look at the future performance levels of the organization and employees, to assure new managers are prepared for their jobs, to focus on organizational efficiencies, and to avoid daily work-related as transactional problems. Organizations always have challenges, and sometimes leads to conflicts and problems that we could have solved if we really had mentors and people holding each other and moving on in the right direction. Okay, any question there? Any question in terms of how the organizations benefit from mentoring people? Okay. Feel free to interject and stop me. Mm-hmm. So really, what should a mentor be asking? If you choose a mentor to come and support you, you know, what are some of the things should a mentor focus on at the very beginning of your mentoring relationship? And if you're taking a topic, you know, in terms of saying, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to achieve. In 5 years, this is where I want to be. So you take, in the aspect of mentoring, then you take in totality a topic that you would like to discuss and maybe go to them you would come and maybe go to someone in HR if they're mentoring you and say, I am looking at understanding how to do a job evaluation. That's a complex, kind of a complex project in any given HR situation, because of course, the emotiveness that comes from it, the results that are expected to be delivered after the exercise is completed, and the process that the technical process that goes along in getting a job evaluation done. So some of the things that we need to be aware of is if you're looking at people to mentor, and if you're a mentor in an organization, you know, what do you like and dislike about working in this organization? What elements of your job do you find most difficult? Has the work been good, back satisfactory for you, and why? What do you consider to be your most important achievement? What do you consider to be the most important tasks? What elements of your job interest you, and which interest you the least? What kind of work would you like to do in the next 5 years' time? What actions should be taken to improve your performance? What sorts of training, you know? And these are very good questions around both at coaching level and at mentorship level, to ignite that thought and process. You know, what do you like to work about in this organization? You know, from that perspective is that, let's say your mentor, it would be a situation where the mentee is feeling that, oh, I'm starting to feel I'm not too happy here, you know, and you go to someone who has maybe in this organization for a long time, and you ask them, why am I feeling like this? And maybe you have really good reasons as to why. The work maybe is not challenging. You feel that you don't get enough support from your supervisor. You feel that you've been bypassed by some opportunities that have been there. And maybe you have seen that this person has been there, and you have heard them, maybe when they are speaking, that they went through the same kind of situation. And you would want to go and draw from them what they did differently for them to have kept going, and they're still there in the organization many years later. You get what I mean? And the mentor would now start thinking, well, I was there, this is what I did. If you do things differently like this, you are able to succeed. So even as we have mentors, the question that is posed to us, we must also have the capability and the understanding of where is it coming from. You must be able to question and start that conversation, so that the other person also, as they are learning from you, then they can also take their own self-reflection and say, oh, okay, I see that. I never looked at it like that before. This is a new situation that I am facing. And thank you for bringing me to the realization that despite that, what can I do and bring myself up to speed of what's happening? So some mentorship programs not just accelerate people's learning, but even when there are challenges and they come to you, people must also take cognizant, and maybe to a certain extent, responsibility, even if they are not the ones who have found themselves in that, whatever, take responsibility, not responsibility, ownership, because they're the ones who are finding themselves in that situation. So it's important for us to not just think that I am going to give it all, bear it, lay it bare in terms of sharing and making sure that it's just been given on a silver platter. We must also be able to challenge the mentees to find out why are they there, how did they get there, what could they have done differently in this situation for us to get better results. Okay, great. Any question? Some of the key questions that we can ask: how has it been in your organization? Any question there? So how do we mentor someone? How can we mentor someone? Allow me not to be the only one asking the questions. How do we mentor someone? What kind of frameworks and things have we done in our organization? Irene told us that they have a call for expression, who wants to be a mentor, around building new employees. to be able to settle in quickly with the organization's culture, for them to be able to understand what's happening, and the mentors also have to have meet a certain criteria for them to be selected. So we want to look at, really now I have been linked to a mentor. What is the real process? What goes on in there? It's easy to link the mentor. I ask even at personal level, how do you identify a mentor? But now I have been linked. What is that? What are those things that go inside there? When I meet, okay. Catherine has been linked to Irene. What's the process inside there of mentoring? What goes? Anyone? Or it's just a good discussion over a good cup of coffee? Let's try. Yes, Irene?
Thank you, Catherine. I came in late, sorry, and I've not been feeling well. I was in theater and last week, and I'm recovering. Yeah, I have a
I'm
little.
sorry, quick recovery.
But I thought it's good to catch up with you again and learn as I sit at home. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Now, I will relate the issue of mentorship with the work performance, and just to share some few experience here and there in our institution. We normally, in terms of performance management, we take our staff through the performance improvement plan, and we involve mentorship there. And so when you are attached with somebody to mentor, the things that you may need to do, you review their weaknesses and also see where they had some few strength, and you discuss how to help this person improve his or her performance in the next quarter, because we review quarterly performance before we come to the annual. And so you discuss how you can be able to assist this person next time to, where the targets were very low, and of course he has to come up with, if he has realized his mistakes, he will tell you that he would like to be assisted with this and this, so that he can weigh up next time. So there's a discussion you need to help to bring up, to work with this person and ensure next time she or he has improved. So those are the kinds of discussion, and you also ask them where would you expect you to achieve in the next quarter. So those are issues that you need to discuss. Where did you go wrong? What happened? You start, getting to understand what was the problem, why the performance went down. So that's what I wanted to share. It's through the performance improvement plan that we can have.
You can have that. So you do quarterly evaluations, and then if someone is not performing well, they are put on a PIP, and the person who's supporting them, is it their supervisor or is it someone else?
The supervisor asked them. The supervisor asked the staff whether she or he would like to have a mentor.
Okay.
Yes. So if he says yes, he choose a mentor within the department to help him or her.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's a very caring organization. We are not just putting you on a PIP, which can be a very anxious moment in any employee's life, but we're also going a step further and saying, as much as I'm your supervisor and your scores are not to the expected standards of our organization, we're also giving you another helping hand by asking you, would you like a mentor? And you choose a mentor to be able to support you. I think that's the real way of demystifying what PIPs are, and how much better to make sure that we are speaking and mirroring what we say, that we want everybody to be successful in this organization. Thank you, Irene. Anybody else as we move along? Okay. So these are some of the things that we want to, how do we mentor someone? The following should be done to mentor someone. And it's nothing that we do not know. It's just bringing them all together now in terms of we've already built a mentorship program, or even saying that we would like to mentor people in the organization. And these are the mentors that we have who can mentor people in different aspects and ways of achieving the organizational goals. I like where we go out of just not thinking of the organization itself, but also the person in totality. You know, you come and say, this is how you accelerate your learning in this organization. This is how you continue to learn about the culture in this organization. Even as you continue being in this organization, as you grow and you become an expert, after 5 years, you're already now an expert in what you're doing. This is how you will be able to grow your career and succeed others. So you have all those kind of programs, and you have mentors who can be able to support people in the other areas that they would like to do, but also putting it another layer of saying, we are also very well aligned to people's wellness and well-being in an organization. So over and above, not just work-related matters, also we have mentors who are able to support your personal well-being and growth as an individual, you know, because why do we come to work? There are many aspects, you know, why we come to work, and if we ask everybody here, they will have different reasons as to why they go to work. But we also know we go to work to reinforce our social and economic status. If you have those kind of programs, you become very attractive as an employer. So don't just be so drawn into just, well, it's about the organization. And if you have budgets that can support that in terms of saying, maybe internally we don't have those kind of people, or people would be shy to give their personal experiences around personal things in what people are looking for, then why don't you assign 1 or 2 people to be able to support people in that initiative? Or even if someone, and most of the time, mentors almost come pro bono. That's the truth of the matter, you know. And if you can have in your networks, you know, that someone would be benefiting from these kind of initiatives, and come and say, I have a friend who's very good in this area, and they will be willing to support the organization as when. Don't overburden the person, of course, but you can tap into your networks. That's what I'm saying, to be able to do much more, not just about the strategy of the organization and the objectives that it's supposed to achieve, but also speaking into the heartbeat of the person in totality. So something that we always like to look into. Okay. Is it true that mentors should not charge? Should they charge or should they not charge? If you approach someone who you totally do not know, but they are an authority in that area, and you write to them and they accept, and they say, well, I'll charge you for the many sessions we are going to have. Should mentors charge, yes or no? Coaches charge for sure. Mentors? In your opinion, should they charge, yes or no? Sarah, George, should the mentors charge? Milka, welcome everybody. Should they charge, yes or no? If you're a
I
mentor,
think
do
they
you
shouldn't.
charge? Jen, you think they should not?
Yeah, I don't think they should.
Why not?
I think, what can I say? I think it should be like their, for lack of a better word, their CSR. Their payment is seeing the growth of this mentee, you know?
Agree. Yeah, so that's why I say that I totally agree. You know, everybody needs to do CSR, and CSR, you do it every day. when you give advice, you support either informally or formally, and mentorship is one. It's never in the history of the word and definition, and it being more alive and more accepted as a way of accelerating people's growth, never been charged. So we would be hard pressed to come and say, well, you have to pay for my time, because I'm drained from your rich experiences, and you should see the joy that it brings to the other person, knowing that you were once there and you're doing a good thing to support the other person. Okay, great. So some of the things we should do in terms of mentoring person is engage the mentee, build rapport with the mentee, set a strategy and communication tone, go over objectives and growth plan, review and correct performance, in a very structured way. If you had a structured way of mentoring in your organization, and I keep on saying these notes are so rich, sometimes you can even pick them and go and make policies in your organization, or borrow some of these things and to enhance the policies in your organization, or how you do things in your organization. So feel free to make sure that that is being done. Okay, great. So that's the framework. So how do you engage? How do you engage a mentee? Be informal when you start to know your mentee. Engage everyone personally. Use appropriate body language. Informally, how do you know that? How do you know that you're going to be able to work with this person? What if you don't have a chemistry? What if Derek met Rachel in the first slide and they didn't click? What happens? And we see that in organizations, people just don't, we are supposed to collaborate. We're supposed to work together, but sometimes we don't deepen those collaborations and acquaintances. We are very just lukewarm. We don't know why, what happens. And if that's the person that you've been linked with in your organization, what happens? What would you do? And maybe you are junior, there's nothing that you can say. Is it going to work? You're just there, okay. And the person who is more experienced, the mentor, is thinking, well, it's your loss. This is what it is. I'm pushing my KPIs. Anyone who'd like to try or just give an experience? What would happen? Irene, would like to share, or just to give your thoughts around that?
What I think, maybe you can decide to change, yeah? If it's not working with the person you're mentoring, you can agree with the mentee that you tell them that they have liberty to choose another person so that the process can continue.
And the process can be successful. Yes, okay. Thank you, Irene. Someone else? What do you think we can do? Would you say it's not working and you choose someone else? But if you go to the other person, it doesn't work? What I believe is that we should all try and strive to create relationships at every given level, and have a candid discussion around getting to know each other. I think with small little banters as you start off, start building confidence and interest around each other's expectations and what we are made of, and what are the boundaries. With that, then we have a better outcome in terms of getting to know each other, and small talk around how is the weather, how are you settling in, what do you like, your interests, your hobbies, things that are personal to the person without intruding in their space. Then from there, you have a much better relationship. You start building that relationship and be able to start building that trust that I have talked about. And if you go along and if you feel that that is not there, and also tell the person if at any point that you feel that it's not working, let's be honest enough and vulnerable enough between each other for us to say it's not working. That's not to say that we do not remain friends, we do not remain colleagues, we do not work with each other. It's just maybe it was not meant to be, you know, and it's never that serious. So it's important for us to be able to, and especially as the mentor, especially if you are coaching junior employees, to make them feel as welcomed as possible. Remember, you don't have another opportunity to make a first impression. A friend of mine, this is not about mentoring or coaching, a friend of mine got an opportunity to change her job. So the interview process was a bit not the usual, the traditional, where you advertise for the job, you get applications, HR, sift the CVs and stuff like that. But she was headhunted, yeah. So let's put it like that she was headhunted. And she was interviewed by the director, actually, because then it's the director who felt that they needed. So the director went ahead of his time when bypassed HR. But of course, HR had to appear at one point with this candidate. And the director took the CV to the CV and said, this candidate, I think we need to bring them on board and staff and everything. And my friend is thinking, okay, fine. Okay, is this correct? And they're chatting me and telling me, they say, go with an open mind. Lo and behold, when she now went to the HR department to finish off her paperwork, because she thought the opportunity, she felt that the opportunity was good, she met HR whom they used to work with in a previous organization, where she is now, let's call it ABC. She's currently in ABC. She was going to XYZ. Let's say she worked for B Other. So they used to work for B Other. So in B Other, they were colleagues. So she went to ABC, now she's going to XYZ. So when she went to XYZ now to meet HR and whatever, the first thing that the HR comment said, good morning, so we meet again. I mean, first impressions, you're taken aback, you know, and they started talking about the position, and she started saying, I need full explanation as to this role before I make a decision. And of course, as your keeper, what I'm trying to say, whether you were involved from the very beginning, whether it's the director who chose to bypass, and you should take that with the director and say the process was not followed. But now you have the candidate. The candidate is well qualified. You can see that there's no question. And I'm not saying that she's qualified because she's my friend, but what I'm trying to say that the candidate is qualified and will do a fantastic job for you. The HR also knows because they worked with her in that organization. Anyway, so finally, after asking all the questions over a couple of whatever, you know what she said? You asked too many questions. Take the job or not? She chose not to take the job. You know, so sometimes it's the same, you know, patience and looking back and saying, how am I supporting this person? It's critical and is important in any engagement that you have. You know, lost a good candidate, and from wisdom prevailing when they say that I'm not going to take up the job, of course, the HR went into panic mode, thinking that this candidate will go and tell the director exactly. But she's mature enough, you know. My friend is mature enough to come and say, "I'll put it in a very respectful way. I feel that what we had been discussed is not what is on the offer letter. It's not what I feel that I will be getting," and stuff like that. So let's not be bottlenecks in terms of engaging with people at whatever level. That's the same as a mentor. If you're a mentor in an organization and you know this is what you're supposed to be helping people with, don't just say that, even me, I learned the hard way, so you can as well learn the hard way. You will find it, and you think that is part of mentoring. I learned through, it was challenging. A better analogy would be, I learned. It was not easy. These are some of the challenges that I underwent, but this is how I navigated them. Instead of passing comments around, you'll also learn the hard way, and putting people in that kind of situation. You don't bring out the confidence. People don't look up upon you as person whom you'd like to work with. So even as we choose mentors in organizations, call for expression for people to become mentors, we must also look at the people who want to be mentors. What's their kind of attitude do they display? How do they role model? How do they carry themselves? What is their reputation? What kind of brand have they built around themselves? It's important for us. So not just because you're senior, you have 20 years of work experience. True, you good, but nobody wants to work with you. So even as we do that, then we need to be pretty careful in terms of how we choose mentors and how we want to link mentors with others, because we know that if we link this mentor with this one, it's not going to work, and it's not a good thing. So that brings me to my story of how, finding someone to mentor. A very good initiative from a company that I joined, a good company, and they had a good mentorship program, extremely. And they thought, well, senior position, we also link you up with a very senior person in the organization to hold my hand and accelerate my learning. Fair enough. I know about mentorship, and I was happy to be linked when I joined, and during my induction, and they said, this is the person who will be mentoring you, who will support you. And I went with an open mind. However, the mentor had sent very bad vibes about the organization. And you can imagine me as HR, who's supposed to be custodian and a technical advisor around things about culture, diversity, inclusion. And I wasn't drawn into his conversation. So I tried to navigate and to see where all this is coming from by asking the questions and asking his experiences, and everything was really negative about it. And because at that level, then I said, I don't think you make a good mentor, because then you've been here for many years, and if that's the vibe and that's how you feel about it, what can we do? I think we need to work together, me and you, to change that narrative. Challenging that kind of whatever, because maybe at that senior level, I could be able to do so compared to someone who was whatever. And I went back and I talked to the head of the institution, the CEO, and I said, well, I feel that if some of the people in the pool of mentors, this is what they do, we need to rephrase and make sure that we have a fresh look around mentorship so that it's more whatever. And I say that you can become my colleague for now as I look for someone else in the organization to mentor me, but let's work around what you think and you feel around the organization, and to see how we can better support. Because if at senior level, that is what you're saying, it trickles down very quickly and we have a bad experience. Okay, great. Let's continue. My stories can be many. How we're still looking at how to mentor someone and making sure that we have that framework is to build that rapport with the mentee. Consider using icebreakers like what I have said, small talk, banter talks, give precise instructions, allow for brief announcements, check engagement of all, our mentees. So making sure that we are really building the rapport and building the trust to be able to make sure that that is being done once you link someone to the mentee. And it's the responsibility of the mentor to go over their call of duty, especially at a formal engagement level in organization, to make sure that they are really building that rapport, because with rapport brings in trust, with rapport builds confidence, and we're able to make sure that the learning that is expected and the outcomes can be seen, like what we said. How do we know that people are learning? Like what Jane said, is that at the end of every evaluation, at every hard stop, we are saying, what have you learned? And how have it impacted to the growth of the organization? How has it impacted your growth? What kind of results are you producing for the organization? And they can be able to be seen. They are very tangible. But of course, things around behavior and attitude can only be observed. They're very observable. Someone had a negative attitude, was not a team player, but through mentorship, then you can be able to do what? You can be able to see that they are capable of doing that. Yeah. Okay. Milka, you need to mute your mic. So we go on, and and then we need to set a strategy and a communication tone. What does that mean? To help the mentee yourself develop ground rules. How can I mute Milka?
Oh, what was I telling you?
Milka, you need to mute. So how to make sure that we set and build a communication strategy and tone, develop the ground rules, set a stage for agreement, the do's and the don'ts, and clarify the roles of the mentee and the mentor to make sure that the relationship is working. Because if we do not do that, let's say it's a very structured mentorship program in the organization that is aimed to achieve a certain outcome, then people, we say, we'll be meeting every 2 weeks at 3 o'clock. Let's block our calendars. And then you do not appear. Then we're not going to achieve the intended purposes of the program. And maybe it's accelerating your growth to the bigger things that you want to achieve. So I think it is important for us to set the strategy and making sure that that is communicated. If people are okay with that, they make sure that they commit to it. If there are any challenges, from the very onset, they come and say, no, this is not going to work for me. Allow me to pick a different time. Allow me to pick to do something different for me to be able to do what? To be able to do things differently, because it's not the right time. So when you say that, and communication tone, what is communication tone? Communication tone, set the strategy and communication tone. Someone would like to try? It's what it is. It's nothing new that you do not know. Let's try.
Hi, Catherine.
Hello,
Probably I can
Kemuto.
try.
Yeah.
I've actually been trying to talk, but I realized my microphone had an issue.
Mhm.
Okay, great. So I think communication tone is, well, I don't want to repeat your words, but it's the tone. The same way I'm talking to you, like I've started, if I start talking to somebody or my mentee, for example, or if I'm the one who's being mentored, in a harsh or high-pitched tone, or like in a resentful kind of tone, it already sets the base for the relationship that we'll have.
Mhm.
So I think it's always good to be neutral, have a neutral tone, and just to be neutral. If you've decided to mentor someone or to guide someone, then you're doing it out of your free will. No one is forcing you to. So the tone should always be that is receptive, the one that tells this person that we're in this together. I'm guiding you and I'm helping you get through or get into the culture of the organization, or getting you through your development, etc. So the tone is just that, the way you pitch, the pitch of your voice.
It's true. The pitch of your voice. You have no reason to be unfair. You don't have to be condescending. Condescending, maybe it's too strong a word. You have no reason to have a harsh tone, just because then you are more senior than the other person. In fact, authoritative tone, that's the one. It can create, it doesn't create that mutual respect and understanding and thinking that we're in this together. So the tone is what it is, you know. It's how, in fact, your tone sets the pace for everything, whether you're going to be accepted, whether people will listen to you, whether people will want to be related with you, and that kind of stuff. So it's having that a look and feel of how would I like to be treated if this person was talking to me, if I consider this person that they are looking to be successful like I am, then it's wow, you'd want to embrace them in everything, you know, from your tone to your diction, to your demeanor, everything, bringing yourself to the fore in terms of how you are and how you want to relate with this person. And when you think that as a mentor, mentoring someone is a privilege, for them to emerge tops, then you've got a good opportunity to make a great mentor. But if you're someone who is so in tune of saying, oh, if I give them all this information, they will become better than me, let them, like what I said, let them learn the hard way. After all, I was also there. Then there's enough for everyone in the world. And the world is your oyster. The world owes you nothing but an opportunity. When you think about all those things, then you better aligned in terms of whatever. And you can see that sometimes you mentor someone and they become much better than you. Wouldn't you want to come and say, wow, I'm so happy that the journey we took together has led you to this? You know, I'm more than happy to see you thriving and to doing better than was expected, and that is what it was meant to achieve. So when we have when our personalities and our behaviors want the best for the other person, you know, without any envy, without any jealousy, without second guessing the other person, then you have the good qualities and characteristics of a mentor. You know, just knowing that it's not easy, and people would want to be the best for themselves. Okay, great. Thank you, Kemto, for that. The other one is to make sure that we go over the objectives and the growth plan. This is where the rubber meets the road, because not many people want to do the hard job. You know, what are the goals? What are the objectives? What will we be achieving during this duration of time? As I said, if it's a formal one, then it's very structured. Maybe you have certain number of sessions that you need to go over, and they need to be very well coordinated. In terms of, we have a clear goal. This is what we are going to be discussing. These are the milestones that we are going to be making, or be expected to be making, and this is how we are going to evaluate them. Because we can't just be, wow, let's today, what are we discussing? We are discussing about, I don't know what, you know, oh, what do you think we should discuss today? You know, maybe you waste the first 15 minutes without having been purposefully utilizing your time well, and not knowing what it is. Because also, when you have a goal that you want to achieve, your mentee is able to prepare better in terms of this is what they want to learn today. What have been, and you go back, because some things you have to think, how have I done that? Whom can I link them to be able to do that? So we can't just, as a spur of a moment, you know, even if it's on every 2 weeks on Thursday at 3:00 in the boardroom, tried and tested. The venue has been set, but we come there, you know, we'll make the goal when we come. Give everybody an opportunity to be able to come with their set of questions, and then also the mentor to come readily prepared to be able to have done enough research and get the remove from their memory compartment in their brain how they did it, you know, ask, think through, and that's the only way we're able to have a real good conversation and connection in terms of that. And it now goes, you know, becoming more interesting, good use of your time, and the mentee is also able to ask and get the answers that they require. And I'm not saying during these conversations that the mentor will have all the answers. There are some things that maybe they have not experienced in life, and they say, oh, that's a good one, never heard of that before, and I think we can explore it more, and how would it look like and stuff like that. Because we are not a monopoly of knowledge, neither do we know everything that is in this world. So some things maybe will catch you by surprise. Some things you have to say, I do not know, we need to research more, or I know someone who knows it and I'll be able to link you up with that person. So it's important for us to have that objectives and to monitor the growth plan that we are achieving as when we meet. So there's a lot of reverse mentoring now that is happening. What's reverse mentoring? And reverse mentoring, would it have a formal? Do you think at any one time that reverse mentoring will have a formal way of being done in organizations? Anyone?
Yeah, maybe I can contribute to that. Reverse, just like the word reverse, you are going back now.
Mm-hmm.
There are ways of reverse mentoring. If I've got a new writer,
yes,
there is what new things, new strategies have come up,
mm-hmm.
and this is the person who had been given to you.
Mm-hmm. So
as a leader, you have gone for training yourself, and now you have to come and train.
Mm-hmm.
For most of the other roles that works, but there's a new trend that has come up with IT.
Mm-hmm.
IT is just a totally different ball game. It seems to be the forte of the youth. So you can actually reverse roles. Yani you become the mentee and the person becomes the mentor, because sasa uelewi hizi vitu zenye zinaitwa ma influencers na nini, unajua vitu, a lot of things that are coming up, they are more clearly understood by the youth compared to the older generation. So there is that bit that is coming in, when now the way you've taken us through the steps, you are building the rapport, you are engaging this person, building the rapport and setting the strategy will count. If you did it well, then this person is also able to help you as a leader. But if you did it badly, now they teach you negatively so that you fail. So that bit that comes in, yeah.
Yes, yeah, thank you, yeah. Very well said in terms of reverse mentoring, happening much more accelerated during COVID, people had to use technology much more. The fourth industrial revolution, even if we were there, it just exploded, and we needed to just embrace and say, for sure, we are now in the fourth industrial revolution, So the younger generation being very tech savvy, they know much more than the older generation, and they were the ones, on the driver's seat. This is what you do. And we saw that a lot in terms of helping the less experienced people in the use of technology. And that became very alive. And how they did it, I think it created a much better working relationship, demystifying that it's not just the older people in age and in experience who know everything, but this also now the younger people, in terms of this is what the world is all about, and this is how it revolves. And now coming to appreciate that this technology that these people work on, they are very different. The age of AI, Internet of Things, the chat GPTs that are there now, they're amazing. Give a youngster a term paper to do for you, and they go and download it, and they say this is it. They just put commands in on their applications, and they come with everything. So I don't know about plagiarism in terms of using all these AIs and stuff like that, because in our age, you are expected to go to the library, research, read books and stuff, because I don't see references. You give me a term paper, but there's no reference, there's no who cited it, who wrote it and stuff like that. So I'm a little bit too hesitant sometimes to think that research technology will, because you can still go behind the internet and research, and of course, quote the source of your material. But this Internet of Things, where they download a command and get everything, is still not giving me the source of who should be referenced and take credit for that work. Anyway, that said and done, I think there's a lot happening right now, and we should be able to embrace it. My second question was, can we formalize reverse mentoring, or is it just on the go? It's short, quick, and fast, and people fly away. If you're doing a research MBA, PhD, that would be a good research question. Is there anything you think that we can leverage? Do you think it can have a formal structure in organizations? Anyone? Or it's just a one-off, teach you how to do this, I move on? Anyone mind thinking through it? Thoughts? If you've experienced it, if you're one of those who is a techie, do you think that it can have a formal way, and this framework that we are talking about can anchor?
Catherine, I think it can and it should.
It can and it should.
Yes.
Why?
I'm thinking of the kind of industry that I am in, where machines keep changing every now and then. The older generation was already used to the older type of machines, but new ones are coming in. And coincidentally, yet again, it's the younger ones who are more familiar with them. So in the line of work, it can also be done just like the regular mentoring, that you mentor the older people who have not had an opportunity to work with the newer type of machines, and they get like accustomed to the newer ones that are coming more highly computerized than the older ones that were more mechanical. So yeah, it can and it should.
And it can and it should. Thank you, Milka, for that. Someone else?
I think, Catherine, I can try. I think when we look at it in this way, we can tap in from the new ideas, the new technology that is being brought by the young generations, and it can become, we can leverage on it and improve the institution. That's what I see. And also, I think if it is more structured, I think we will avoid issues of resistance to change, and and it becomes more owned up by everyone in the organization.
It's true. Technology is here to stay, and there's no way that we can run away from it. The early adapters have a better head start. The laggards will struggle, and in comes then, and the early adapters in technology, we will all agree, are the younger generation. So as we do that, then it will become a way of life. And especially if you use technology, your business heavily uses technology, relies on technology to be able to run its business and to be able to stay afloat and to stay ahead of competition. So the people who are more agile and embracing technology are the younger generation. So there'll always be that skill that they bring back to the organization so that everybody is at par. So shadowing in these younger people, I guess it calls for a mindset and shifting of mindset around the older generation, and say, these younger ones are here now to stay, and they've got the knowledge and the skills. So we'll see better collaboration, better relationship building, because then the younger ones will be the ones driving the technology space. if the older ones also want to stay in the job market and become successful. So thank you for that. So those mentoring, again, in pockets, a big machine has been brought to the organization. Even call it a big photocopier. It's completely computerized, completely. And I'm saying that because I have seen them, and I go and nobody told me there's a new machine in the office, and you go in and of course the data has been configured. By the time the supply is coming, maybe IT has given all the names of the people in the organization, they've been fed there. So, but nobody has told you, hey, lo and behold, there's a new machine. But when you call the other ones, the younger ones, and say, hey, I need to scan, just go there, press this, press that, press this, and voila, it works like magic. But if I call my peer, hey, come, they say, ata mimi bado. And then I say, kuja basi tusome, the young one, our colleague is here and he seems to know whatever. So even such, the early adoption, just look at your workplace and to see how agile they are in terms of embracing technology and using it to drive performance and to drive the agenda in terms of the duties and responsibilities that they have been given. It's a fresh, good space to be in. There's no doubt about it. And when they are teaching you, then you are learning, you having a good conversation around, how is the coffee, how is this machine, and you'll hear, the other one was shadow. I mean, look at this, and you can see the excitement on their faces, and you start building different kind of conversations around that. So that's what I keep talking about. Collaboration, you have good opportunities to collaborate in different aspects when circumstances avail themselves, and circumstances avail themselves differently. And in that area, then this is the guy to call when I need something else. So great, and they might be in a very different department. Okay. So the last one is review and correct performance. I didn't talk to that, especially if it's very structured in terms of where we feel that you're not performing. So we are mentoring you, we are coaching you, we are giving you this opportunity to succeed and to show what you're able to do. So apart from gaining the skills, then it also inspires confidence and say, I want to do more. And it also gives you the opportunity to come and say, as the mentee, for sure, I've not been doing what is expected of me. But now with this, then I'm better placed to be to do better. So from a formal way in terms of disconnecting the mentorship program, if it was time bound, then you also are able to look back and say, what have I learned? If it's an ongoing process in an organization where someone is not doing well and they have to be put on a PIP, and the line manager is the one to look after them during that time to make sure that they are doing exactly what has been the objectives that are supposed to be achieved. There's another layer of saying who can mentor you during this time. Whom would you like to pick? And that correction is better accepted in terms of what needs to be done. So I keep urging people and organizations, if you put someone on PIP, it's not just the line manager, get another level for them to feel that they really care about me. You remember where I said it's not just about mentoring people on the area of on the area of performance and culture and everything else work related, but it's also mentoring me as a person to feel that indeed they want the best of me. So put another layer of asking who can help you succeed, and go to that person and have that kind of discussion of saying, we've put this person on PIP. We've also asked them whether they would like to have a mentor. They've picked you, and these are the areas that they are struggling in, because that conversation has to be had, and some conversations are confidential. So the mentor also has to agree to keep some of these things confidential as they're happening. So those aspects, that's why it's important to look at the quality, characteristics, behavior, role models of your mentors. There's some people who would never be appointed because, there are always disaster waiting to happen, and we wonder why we keep them in organizations, but that's the story of another day. So the review and correct performance is to allow adequate time to evaluate, review and improve performance, address shortfalls, failures, and weaknesses that have been identified as we go along. Okay, great. Any question? Well done, well done. We are moving on pretty well. Okay. Okay, please answer the question. Which one is the correct one? A, B, C, or D? What should not be done? Which one do you think is correct? Going once?
Compare, which of the following should not be done is compare one protege to another.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Why? Because people are different, isn't it, Catherine? People are different. So we should not compare one person to the other because the needs of one person are very different from the needs of the other person. The rest should be done, engage the protege, build rapport with the mentee, and review and correct performance. Well done. Okay, great. Any question? So taking away, there were some good highlights around what we should actually do in the area of mentoring and whatever. So what are some of the key responsibilities of a mentor? We've mentioned some of them, but what do you think in total some of the key responsibilities of a mentor? Thank you for the chat group. Well done, yeah. Thank you for those answers. They're correct, yeah. Roles and responsibilities of a mentor. Okay, many. There are many. These are not exhaustive, but they can be very, very many, Okay, so some of the very high level ones that can bring instant success to both parties is creating and managing diversity, turning individuals to team players. We are talking in the aspect of mentorship in an organization, quality management, enhancing performance, innovation, and motivation. Things that we all know. Sometimes I keep on saying is more of a good refresh and be able to go and revamp some of the things that you are doing in your organization. And if you don't have them, then you go and start feeling that I have a great program to bring into our organization. How about this? And you're already miles ahead and you've already articulated how you can bring it in and formalize it. So good opportunity for you to be here. So responsibilities of a mentor, creating and managing diversity. What is diversity? We've talked about diversity for a long time now. Continues to be very well referenced in organization. Even as a country, we embrace diversity. We want diversity, inclusion, equality.
Yeah, good try.
Yeah.
Diversity comes from the word diverse, and people may look at things differently. People's opinion about things, even perceptions, may be different. So inclusion means you can also rope it in and manage it, manage it rather than fight it, to bring it in as an inclusion, as part of who you are within the context of a team.
Fantastic, thank you. Yeah, looking at things differently, being very conscious around your environment and making sure that you accommodate everyone and accommodate people's opinions and concerns without feeling that, well, but we have a policy. That policy should address it. Wrong way of thinking around about things like that. If people have said 2 or 3 times the same thing. Then it's time, even if you have a policy, it is time to look into that policy and say, oh my gosh, it can be 2 or 3 people have pointed it out, then maybe something needs to be done. Embracing personalities at the workplace, different personality, different gender, different race, different tribes. We are very, we've come with big community as a country, and we need to be able to make sure that we do what? We embrace diversity. So responsibilities of a mentor, is to make sure that they are very aware around things that drive diversity, how diversity can be a pillar of success in an organization, and what are some of the things that they need to be aware of that they must not cross around the area of diversity. Diversity, of course, is a strong enabler of your culture, and it speaks into your culture as well, your values, what it is, and also very well, it should be driven by top management. Of course, programs can be put in place for every department to articulate or make sure that they implement, but also HR has a good opportunity to make sure that they are driving the agenda of diversity and inclusion. So as a mentor is creating and managing that diversity from that, make sure that there is involvement. There is a fearless environment. Fearless means that we do things in a way that everybody feel it's a safe space. They can contribute. They can be able to know that their opinions are going to be taken into consideration. They don't feel that there's any victimization that will come their way. It's a real good environment working. And this takes a lot of work from everybody, because it's me and you. Diversity is the warmth that we feel when we are working in that, the look and feel. It's not tangible. Of course, it's the behaviors that everybody ascribes to within our values and our value system as human beings. So a fearless environment creates strong diversity, respect, as we said, respect in every form, shape, and size. The same rights you have are the same rights I have in this organization. Of course, rank comes with responsibility and privileges. So there's all that protocol that has been put in place, but we feel respected, that the senior people shouldn't feel that they need to be respected more than the junior people. So respect is a two-way. You feel that your supervisor totally respects you, and you can be able to air your concerns or even give compliments and views, and you have a great opportunity to give feedback. A fearless environment talks around ability to give feedback all the time. Solicit for feedback and get feedback. Every time there's an opportunity to be given feedback. Talks a lot in creating a fearless environment. And then take time out. It's sometimes you can say, let's take time out. It's too heavy. We've done the heavy lifting. That was difficult. Let's try and take some time off. And especially, and it's not everything that we will agree all the time. We will not agree to everything all the time. And if we don't do that, then we don't go chest stamping and say, I am the final decision maker. Sometimes it just calls that, let's take time out to have difference of opinion. We don't want it to escalate into something ugly. Let's take time out. Let's regroup another day, not necessarily tomorrow, taking time out and sleeping over it, unless it's something very urgent and important. But if it takes time out to say, there are things that we need to look at differently. And the first urgent one is this, XYZ, ABC. ABC, we look at it in 2 days' time. The other one, if you can't be able to make a decision in the whole issue that is being discussed, dissect it into small little topics or units and say, this one which is most urgent, let's talk about it 2 days from now. You go think about it, what we have been discussing, what's the best way forward. Let's consult, let's escalate, do whatever it is. So sometimes we find ourselves wanting to do everything at the same time. Wow, we can put it, we can structure it in a way that gets us a better outcome, because when we do things under pressure, the outcomes that we get are not what are most ideal for both parties. Okay. Responsibility of a mentor, again, is turning individuals to team players. What does that mean? Anyone? Selection, training, motivation. We want everybody to be a team player. When we ask people, what's some of your strongest aspects that you would bring to our organization? I'm a great team player. I like that. I enjoy it a lot, by the way. I like people who say they are strong team players. Someone, what does it mean? Turning into individuals into team players. I came in as an individual. Remember Derek, the Derek we found in the first slide was paired to a mentor, Rachel, by Jennifer. What are we trying to do? Turning individuals into team players. And why is that important? Responsibility of a mentor in an organization. Let's
try?
Yes, please.
Yes. I think turning an individual into a team player is making this person be able to work with others and enjoying doing the same, and being able to understand each other as they work, whether with their flaws, with their strengths, with their weaknesses. They're able to work together and bring out the best of each other. Yeah, instead of just picking out issues.
Exactly. I like two words that you have used, take them out of my mouth, is enjoy working with others. I can be a team player, and when people talk about being a team player, they must really think about, well, what do I bring to the group? How do I contribute to being a member of this group? How do people see me? What do they talk about me when I'm not in the room? What's my reputation around who I am? So ability to completely and genuinely enjoy working in that team is a big aspect of being a strong team player. And then understanding your team members with their flaws, with their weaknesses, with their strengths, with their different thought processes. Some people are better workers in the morning. Some people are better workers in the afternoon. Some people are better workers. They're like nocturnals and, alls, they'll only work late at night, but there's work to be done. How do you accommodate those personalities in your team? So the thing is that managers who manage teams are also team players. And they must also, first and foremost, apart from managing people, I have this team. I must also be a member of this team, and it's not like because I'm the manager, then I have 5 people, that's the team. Indeed, you're managing that team of 5 people, but do I really enjoy working with this team? The other thing is that what's my understanding of my team members? And indeed, that also now comes to, if everybody has that understanding, they also be able to understand accept themselves more of what am I with my strengths and what are my weaknesses, and we will not have team squabbles. So the responsibility of a mentor is to make sure that they understand that turning individuals into team players is a strong aspect of what they need to do, not just sharing their responsibilities, but apart from them being a mentor and sharing their experiences and reaching the goals of their mentee, they have these added responsibilities of making sure they are. The first one was diversity and inclusion, and now we are looking at them making sure that they turn individuals into team players. So the kind of selection that is done, the training that is given to them, and also the kind of motivation that they bring to the table is extremely important. Okay. Quality management. A mentor must aim to take total quality management by taking into consideration various aspects as contribution, time, authority, and respect. quality management. What kind of quality do we want to see coming from my mentee or this team? Once I mentor you, will you turn your work into real good quality? It speaks about the values of personal excellence. The kind of work that you produce should be a brand in itself. When we pick this work, we know that it has been done by John. This is John's work. I'm looking and saying, for sure. When I touch and say, this for sure, it's work that has been done by John. So allow yourself to not just have brand image comes speaks into many things, especially it keeps evolving. Let's put it like that. Brand image is not what you're known for. Your skills, your skills and experience, but it also talks about your thought leadership. It talks about the kind of work that you produce as well, whether you're a completer, finisher. So quality management must speak into the responsibilities of a mentor, stretching and making sure that it translates into tangible results once you mentor someone. So the kind of contribution that someone will be making in the organization, the kind timekeeping, and being very conscious that time is an important and scarce resource. The authority that they bear as they go up the ladder and the support that they need is extremely important for you to be able to do that. The other one that we talk about is enhancing performance. Performance can be enhanced by synergy. Synergy, we talked about it from the other slides of being a team player and making sure that you're able to enhance that performance, because you can't again work alone. Even if you're doing a task, it must be passed by someone. There must be someone, it completes somewhere. Maybe you're the one who's totally going to complete it, but it's also going to be consumed by someone. That's how it goes. You're doing work, maybe you're passing it on to someone else to continue with the value chain, or it's going to you do it, you finish it, but there are other audiences that are going to consume it. And work with a team to maximize output, because we know we want to maximize everything in an organization. We want to maximize potential. We want to maximize resources. We want to maximize time. We want to maximize our brand. Everything that is in organizations, we talk about optimal performance, and enhancing performance is one of them. Catherine, I can see your hand is up.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring the aspect of this responsibility of a mentor. There is something about that mentor and the politics of the organization. Even when you are appointed as a mentor, and we can have this as the standard. The way we come out of workshops and put the notes up there. Yeah. But at the end of the day, there is always the politics of the organization, because I think around this, there is, I've noticed there are cases when you really mean well for an organization bringing team players, but normally people have put there two pseudo MCAs, around teams. So wanakuwa spy mission, on a spy mission. Wewe unajaribu kuform a team, because you work together as a team to maximize the output. But there's that one person who has been baptized into making your life hell, in that organization. And so every time you come up with the right strategies, this person brings up a defeatist sort of situation. What would you comment about that?
And that's it's never an ideal world. Thank you, Catherine. I'd like to open that discussion to plenary. We have, you remember I said we have the best intentions as human beings, and we should always have. We make programs, and but there are always people who will try and sabotage good intentions, even if it will not benefit them. how can we make sure that the politics of the day, there'll always be politics in organizations, do not cause or distract us from the good things that we are aiming to achieve. Those little coffee pots at the coffee pot over there, when we are going home, did you hear what they said in the meeting? They don't even, vitu kwa ground is different. They just sit in the ivory tower. Look at them. Now they are saying that we are going to have mentors. Look at the people they have picked. What criteria did they use? Who is going to agree to be mentored by those people? What can we do?
Maybe Catherine, I can contribute. I have heard from Catherine, and it is very true. There is a lot of politics around all organizations, and what normally I keep on encouraging people who have positive thinking is to concentrate on, to focus on the positive energies, because it's not everybody who will be against the new strategies that you're trying to bring. You will have a team to work with, and I think it will become an examples of them. If they see you succeeding, some of them will now, will start reforming and becoming, part of your team. I think it's all about focusing on the positive energies in what you think it is good for the organization.
Focusing on the positive energy, taking it and running with it and seeing what it is. Very well. Someone else, what can you do? What do you do with these people over there? Do you call them to a town hall meeting and say, this is what I had. We don't want this. And stop, go away. Okay, this is what I had. What is the concern that you have? Whatever, and say, who told you? Now you've singled us out. Someone else? What have you done practically? What can we do to enhance that? That everybody is on the same page. Some people just want to make life difficult for no good apparent reason. Sometimes maybe they do. They just had a bad experience with someone who's being made the mentor, and that they never ironed it out. They held the grudge for a long time. Then they started forming silos in organizations. Anyone? And this one was also brought, look, all the people that have been appointed mentors belong to one tribe. Look, all those mentors have been brought in by the chairman. They'll say anything, and maybe that's not even true. What can we do to stop this politics that...
Catherine, I'm not sure, but I'm just wondering, sometimes you get that difficult one and give them the mentorship role to mentor others.
True. Bring them to the fore and say, you might be the champion that we are looking for. Sometimes just give them, let's see what they are going to excel. And they will just think, what? They've just done that to me, without even telling them that this is what we had. Good strategy. Concentrate on the positives and move. Sometimes all these people who want to bring things down, let them be on the lead and let's see what they're going to, of course, with a lot of close monitoring, not micromanaging, close monitoring, supervision, without showing that is what you're doing. You're nudging them to move ahead. In terms of, let's see, let's bring you to the fore. Keep your enemies really close. The Act of War. If you love to read that book, you should be in your library, looking at every strategy of how to execute this kind of things. Someone else, that's a good one, Jane, that we have seen working, where we say, iron sharpens iron. Let's give those people who are against this program to see what they will. Just surprise you, maybe. And that's maybe the time they do the 360-degree turn. Someone else? One more strategy that we can use, or you have used and it has worked, especially with a good example. Nice. I think it speaks a lot into, I don't have, there's no definite answer. And one size won't fit all. What we can do is to find out where this noise and confusion is coming from, and identify it and say, is it well-founded? Are there some truths around it? And to see what we can do about it. It also begs to look into other bigger things around our culture, our values. Who are those people who are talking negatively against great initiatives that we bring into the organization? What concerns would they have? It also goes back to saying this is a good initiative, but even as we are developing the initiative, how did we involve people? You know, it's like going to Naivasha for 5 days and coming back with a new strategy. You know, it doesn't work. People will not totally embrace it. I can't remember the word that I'm trying to, whatever. People will not own it. So it's important that we involve people from the very beginning to get their views and to get their ideas so that we have better success. And these negative people in the organization, sometimes it is good when we get opportunities in meetings, in town hall meetings, in communication, whatever, we continue speaking about our culture and how it drives performance and how it brings people together and the need for collaboration without having to identify it's that person, it's that person, and that person. Then one of the things that we really need to define, and I keep saying if you've had me for a long period of time, is we need to define the behaviors around our values. If we say one of our strong values is integrity, have you defined exactly what integrity means in this organization? Not the definition of the dictionary of what we know. What does integrity look like? What are some of the behaviors that we need to model around integrity? What are some of the great examples that we have seen in this organization that works for us when we espouse the integrity value? Because we put all those things there and people do understand them. It's not that they do not know integrity, professionalism, customer service, whatever, all those things that the values that we have, but have we gone ahead and defined them? Then from time to time, let's also make sure that we have KPIs around those, and let's have a 360-degree feedback around people's character and behaviors and how they live those values. And maybe when you get back that and say, this is how I behave around my organization, I need to change. If I don't change, then there are also consequences. Sometimes we are fearful of putting consequences around things value-based. It's time we start doing that, because if 2-3 times you've been called out in a 360-degree evaluation, which has no malice, then it is time for you to reflect and say, not good at all for me. If I value my work and if I like working in this organization, something I need to look. And then you're able to bring it out because there's evidence that has been produced. You know, this is what has been said about you. Is there anything that you are struggling in this area? And if you don't change, we are giving you time to change. We'll continue monitoring you. Behavior is very, you can only observe, it's only observable, but again, there are consequences around it. So to continue building that culture that you have, but every opportunity you get, talk about it and see how it is. And also say, we had some concerns around the quotas, you know, that this could be it. Anybody who has any concern, you know, we are a fearless organization and we would like to make sure that we are speaking into that. So that builds that. I'm not saying it's going to be done overnight, Catherine, for sure. But when we start and we are brave enough to be able to move that agenda, because it's all about people. And if top management is borrowing and they're role modeling that, you've got a better chance to succeed. Okay? Great. I'm sure these are things that we all try and do in organization, but that was a good thought-provoking one, Catherine. Thank you. Let's move on. Responsibility of a mentor is to ensure that there's creativity, innovativeness, agility in the organization. Mentors should empower the mentee to make them accountable for the innovation process, because now we all talk about innovation, and it's very important for us to be able to look at innovation, not just putting in new products and services. True, that's innovation for us to remain afloat, but also innovation around our own environment internally. What can we do differently? If we have closed offices, do we want now to have open plan offices? And if we work, if we are saying innovation, put people together over a lunch hour and say, let's brainstorm around this. So look for things which empower people to be more creative and more innovative. Nothing brings people together and makes people more happy at work than being told, do things differently. Let's do things differently here to see how we can improve processes, how we can maximize our resources, and making sure that we are keeping ahead of competition. So that is important, responsibility of a mentor. And finally is to motivate. In fact, it should be, it's not in order of what we have said, but one of the responsibilities of a mentor is to motivate. I've got all this experience. I know all these things. So I should be the one with a spring on my feet to come and say, I've done this and I'm very happy to share. So it's to nudge out, to motivate. I know people from a motivation point of view and the theories of motivation, people should motivate themselves, but we should also create an environment that allows for continuous motivation. So that's the thing. So if you see that your supervisor is highly motivated, you just naturally follow. But if you see your supervisor is just laid back, there's no zeal, motivation comes in many ways. Even your whole demeanor talks, can show that you are motivated. How you do your work, the kind of contribution that you make calls a lot for that motivation. So mentors should motivate mentees to drive high performance. So question, things that you need to know and remember before a question comes up. The protege what we say is for you to retain. Remember the 70-20-10 rule is very ideal in terms of learning. So remember that retention of your protege whom you are coaching is 10% what they read, 20% of what you hear, 30% of what they see, 50% of both what they hear and use, 70% of what you say, and 90% of what they say and do. So people learn differently, but also make sure that with their full involvement, you've got better results of the person. It's sticking and getting them to the next level. Quick question: which of the following is not a responsibility that the mentor has to fulfill as a mentor, as he mentors or coaches his mentees? Which one is it? Which is not a responsibility?
Attending mentees' personal parties.
Personal parties.
I know, isn't it? It's almost funny. So you can't go to the mentee's personal party if they invite you, honestly, you can't go. You'll go, but it's not a responsibility. We've talked about good responsibility, and those responsibility calls for a lot of thinking through every day of what you're supposed to do. And those are the things that also a good line manager should be doing, the framework that forms the basis of managing your team. Okay, great. Okay. So the requirement of, cognizant of time, requirement of a mentoring process, the requirement of an effective mentoring process are You need to document. We looked at that in the previous slides. You set standard goals. You set standards and you also set goals. You make it as practical as possible and in a standardized format. What evaluation techniques are you going to use? You communicate. Communicate leads to very good feedback sessions and remove any personal biases. You know, people people always have a perception about someone when they first meet them, isn't it? Looking at someone, you always say, maybe this is what. It's removing those personal biases and say, this is a fellow human being. Let me hear what they have to bring to the table. Gives you a better outcome, because once you put someone in a certain silo, and we do that because we judge people using our own standards, then you don't get a better outcome. So removing those personal biases is very important for you to be able to have a better outcome. So what are some of what should we measure for us to be able to make sure that we are having, in terms of the learning and growth curve, it's almost, if you look at this, you think about the balance scorecard, isn't it? Isn't it? What should we be measuring? We should be measuring internally as, in totality, a very easy way, you know, the financial perspective, the learning and growth, the internal perspectives, and the customer perspective, you know, externally. So if you want to look at a quick way to measure your programs and whether they are succeeding, whether you are really pushing your mentee to the next level, you can divide them into these 4 pillars, or these four aspects that really drive both the person and also drive the business, borrowed heavily around the balance scorecard. Okay. So possible measure, and some of the questions you can ask are those ones. Customer satisfaction, if they are heavily geared towards serving customers. Satisfaction gap, these are just metrics that you can use. Satisfaction distribution for each score for each scored area. So these are just questions that we've put here for you to be able to look at. But ideally, these are some of the 4 quadrants that you can use for you to be able to measure the success of your mentorship program, or how the mentee is doing. So the next one is possible measures of, we go on, the financial regulatory perspective, cost per unit, how well they are doing in that area, if you will be looking at that and you're mentoring them in that area, and funded requirements for projects, cost of the mentee service, budget projections and targets. So some of the things that now that they have fully been mentored and you've given that opportunity now to go back, these are some of the things that you would like to measure them on. The internal perspective, the cycle time, the completion rate, you know, workload, employee and employee utilization. This is very well taken from a HR perspective. Transactions per employee that they complete, errors or rework, the things that they don't do well, and how much wastage that the errors and reworking costs the organization. And then we go on in terms of learning and growth, very geared towards the person themselves. Possible performance measures could include employee satisfaction, how else are they satisfied to work in this organization? You have a set of questions that you can ask and send out. Retention and turnover rate, training hours and resources that you have used, technology investment. Technology will always be there. It's a key driver to any business and any service that you deliver to your clients. Okay, great. So let's move on to the parameter to assess the mentee. Any question there in terms of the 4 pillars? Moving a bit faster because of time. So once there could be many areas for you to because there's nothing like free lunch. We also need to monitor the progress Any monitoring process monitors the mentees and evaluates them on various measurement aspects like self-development. And some of these things we've been discussing when we are talking at plenary level: communication skills, the emotional intelligence, up use of emotional intelligence. How do you react at different, when you're faced with different circumstances, especially challenging circumstances? How does your true character come out? Personal effectiveness, your ability to create and innovate, creative and innovative thinking. This talks around something that is very well challenged or very well talked about now: critical thinking. Sometimes our ability to think critically, and thinking critically is not thinking deeply and say, I'm thinking now, it's the thought process around how you make decisions, how you arrive at from the unknown into the known, what process you follow, who you involve in those thought process, what kind of decisions do you make, and it's a skill that everybody needs to develop: critical thinking. Your ability to have leadership qualities, managing of teams, presentation, information, and influencing others. So some of them also include managing and leading change, your personal brand and reputation, your commercial awareness, that talks into your business acumen, entrepreneurship acumen, coaching and developing others, ability to build relationship, think strategically, developing the organization, managing performance, and business skills. So the monitoring process, you can monitor all these various areas, whether the mentee has reached them. Okay, great. Any question until there? Any question? Okay.
Yeah, probably I can ask one.
Yes, yeah. Go, Catherine.
Yeah, one of the major things that I think in terms of the country hoping that people will be better is the area of interns. Yeah, because you can have interns come in terms of wanting to mentor them into a role, maybe because they did well before. But now, if you are looking at all these parameters, I just wanted to look at how people perceive interns, because eventually these interns are ending up in organizations and they are very, very poor performance. Yeah, despite their credentials. Do you think that probably the area of mentoring lacks within HR? Because I think I've seen most systems tend to take interns as just A or B. They don't invest there, but these are the people who end up in work environments and disturb the status quo. So would this particular issue, like, because I'm seeing it's a very helpful teaching and training, because I've come across what you call A asterisk kind of interns. And this particular one just needs like 6 months and they can fit into supervisory role and be a leader. But there is no system that is actually assessing them. So I believe this is also an area that really I think HRs need to look at in terms of taking this aspect of mentoring into that role, so that you can end up getting very good people.
Exactly. And thank you, Catherine, for just challenging us in terms of what kind of internship programs are you putting in at your workplace for interns, people who are coming straight from university, colleges, to come into the world of work. If we introduce people to the world of work in a way that is not structured and doesn't really give them the real picture, that's when we are ending up with very poor performers. So I don't know whether there's anyone from working with the government, because the government actually put up so that the government has fantastic programs. Let's start there. So
Yes,
the government, yes, Irene, I know the government a few years ago put up a mentorship and coaching program, and they were hoping to accelerate the learnings of new graduates, so that they bring them into they continue they share the experiences. But actually that program flopped, and it flopped because then it was not well structured, it was well meant first and foremost, but the people, the interns were just sent, and when they got to those ministries, people looked at them and wondered, where have you come from? What are we supposed to do with you? Can you imagine the people who, the mentees, how lost they felt and how discouraged and how demotivated they felt? Okay, that is one. Then the people who they found, they're thinking, I'm not even aware that you are coming and I don't know what I should be doing with you. So even the people who are there are just thinking, I feel sorry for you, but I will try. But they are so busy doing what needs to do service delivery, they didn't connect. And unfortunately, these mentors, for 1 year, because the program is for 1 year, some of them found jobs and they continued being in the payroll of the government. You get what I mean? And the feedback that they gave is that I went there, nobody embraced me, nobody gave me work. I just sat there and whatever, and no, it was nothing. It's a good intention, and I think now what the government is trying to do, and that's why I'm saying if there's someone from the government, I think they are trying now to first form it as a key performance contracting or something like that. I'm not very sure. And they're also trying to make sure that when they are sending people to those ministries, there's someone to receive them and there's a program that they can work with, real work. Mentorship, of course, also has been taken, like I'm bringing someone here, and of course, they're the ones to take the file to the registry, bring the file from the registry, go and get us coffee, do work. They've taken a long time to go to school. For whatever degree that they have pursued, we need to give them practical work. If you are not ready to, I keep saying, if you won't do that for an individual, you are being unfair to yourself and to the individual. You'd rather not welcome them. So it's not a tick box. It's not a tick box. You'd rather just let the person look for whatever. But we also have organizations which really excel in that in the internship programs. Give them real work, but also don't misuse them. I think if you're all fair human beings and whatever, it's even me, this is how I started. No. Then we are also we are not trying to help the world in bringing people who are independent and people who get good work ethics, strong work ethics. Let's show it. So that is one area that really the government tried, good program, but implementation was not there. And again, also, let's not have it as a checkbox in organizations, because the mentee or the mentor, the mentee will not be able to speak up because they're so fearful. If I speak up, I'll be fired, So I'd rather take this and just learn, But also, let's also say, from the basis of coming from the universities, I think the universities also have a responsibility to let people know what kind of work ethic is required at the workplace. And HRs, we have an opportunity to come together, to go to trade fairs and career shows in these universities and colleges and have talks with graduates, people who are going to graduate, and tell them, when you come to the world of work, this is how you're expected to behave. These are some of the things that you need to understand. This is some of the things that you can ask to do in the organization. So it's too complex. That's what I keep on saying. But when you have an opportunity, as Catherine, Rosemary, Irene, I'm talking about the people who are on the panel, that's why I'm reading those names. We have an opportunity to, as an individual, to come and say, I know about mentorship. I'll do it differently at my place of work. When I have an opportunity to talk to my peers and my friends and talk about mentorship, what kind of mentorship programs are you have? Sisi tu ni ile tu, tunaleta wafanye, wasifanye, and then you stop and say, well, you know, as my friend, I want you to listen and do things differently. So if we have that, it's like we continue preaching that, then sooner or later, we have a better product in terms of mentorship, okay? Anyone who's working with the government, just to reference that program that the government initiated?
Yes, Catherine, I work with the government, and thank you because you have elaborated well about the internship programs by the government, Public Service Commission. They've been recruiting many interns and deploying them to MDs, to the public institutions every calendar year. And I can say it's a very good program, yeah, if its expectations are met. And because we're trying to bridge the gap and to bring, to mentor the leaders of tomorrow. These are the young people who take the leadership tomorrow when all of us, we are not there. And the only thing the other Catherine says that the problem is the systems we have to assess, you know, the interns when we get them. Some of them come and probably sometimes they get, you know, demoralized. They are not getting good guidance to the mentors they are attached to. If you know, it starts off. I remember this first one for this 2023. It was, I think there was a very, very big launch. Even the president and the deputy president were there at the KICC on 30th and 31st to the induction of the team, of the ones that were being deployed. And it was a big, big function. I did not attend, but I sent one of the HR person to attend. And the induction of these interns starts from there. And you can see how the government has embraced these programs. It's a good program. Alongside with now deploying them in the institution, they have other programs training the mentors within the institutions. They have programs that they announce, the programs where they are training at the Kenya School of Government, either in any institution, and they request for 2 or 3, you know, nominees from the institutions. So you can see how serious the government is to mentor the young ones. I see it's a good initiative. We only need to have good systems to ensure it is working.
It's the system that you can imagine sending 2 or 3 people to the School of Government for them to learn about this, whatever, and then they come back and they have to tell 1,000 people about this program. You know, it must call for a better way to mainstream that so that it has the impact that is supposed to have. Otherwise, good initiative, no doubt about it, but there's just something lacking, that little connection between what the mentor should be doing when they set in there, who are they attached to, what is their program, what's their brief, so that they're able to learn from them. So thank you, Erin, for highlighting that. Great initiative. And I think it's also very competitive because also jobs are few and far between in this country, and you are hoping that if you get that, then you're also absorbed into the government as a full-time employee. Sometimes it happens. Okay, great.
Catherine,
So thank you.
If I may share one thing I have forgotten, sorry. We have seen very good interns, whether they have been brought by Public Service Commission for the 1 year they normally deploy them in the institution, or maybe we have brought them through our internship. We normally have an internship and attachment program policies in our institution, whether we have brought them that way. I have seen so many of them who have been very serious in whatever they do. And because ours is a research institution, there are some young people who have come and they are very passionate about what they do, and they have become very better people. They have gotten even a scholarship through our institution, you know, to go and further their education. Some of them have even gotten jobs within, you know, after you have worked for a long time and you ask for a voluntary internship after that program, you work with that for a few years, and then when vacancies arise and they apply, and you see, we note them, and we note that these have been, people have been here and they have been very instrumental to our institution. That's how you identify good workers in them and the young people. Yes,
exactly. Yeah, internship has a good aspect of entry level and building your pipeline, because they've already been there and they know your culture, they know your business. So it's also a good place to tap for your future workforce. So don't forget that. Yeah. So it's I keep on saying, as professionals, everybody should have people that they are mentoring. Internally, externally, mentor your nieces, mentor your nephews, mentor your friends' children, so that when they are coming to the world of work, this is what is expected. So make sure that we are doing that. So of course, the natural outcomes that can come up. Catherine, we okay with that? You feel that that was a good discussion? Thank you for bringing it to the fore.
Yeah, yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So types of performance levels that can, for anyone, you're either doing satisfactory, you are unsatisfactory, and you are incorporable. So that's the truth, that you are either in those whatever. And if you're not doing well, we know that you need to be put on PIP or other supporting measures that need to be done. If you are so bad, then we need to let you go. So a tip to say is that it is very important that before becoming a coach or a mentor, a coach should first assess the culture, background of the employee. They should be well aware of information regarding the people you're about to coach or to mentor. This is because each individual is different, like what we said, in terms of their language, literacy, and numeracy, LLN skills, and learning, visual, auditory, and kinesthetics, and possible disabilities. Hence, a coach or a mentor, you should know these factors to enable you to ensure that everyone gets mentored in an environment you provide for them. People learn differently. People are different. So the learning, the ability, the language, and the learning style for everyone is very different. Let's move on quickly. So what are some of the causes of performance problems? They could be, poor peer relationships, poor work ethic, personal problems. You can lack the ability and the capability. You can be under substance abuse. You lack the time, very, very common, and that's always the common one. I lack the time to mentor, I lack the time to coach. I have poor relationship with the people that I have. Familiarity with the equipment or processes, and low motivation. Okay, so some of the issues that can cause you not to mentor, or lack of you not to be mentored, to be a good mentee, and also for you to be a good mentor. So it's either way. Okay, just looking cognizant of time. So how do you enhance the mentees' performance? Make sure that we use colleague and or colleague, boss, supervisor, whatever we call the manager, or client feedback. Ensure that we evaluate the goals. We have talked about this. We mentor, make sure that we summarize their accomplishments. We also make sure that we overall performance summary. We also make sure that we develop the learning plan. And finally, we have merit and recommendations, and set goals for the coming year. So it's the whole thing. You know, you make goals, you periodically evaluate those goals where we are, and they should be challenging. Even in the mentorship program, we are learning, we are giving feedback. We are the mentees giving their feedback, the supervisor is giving their feedback. We put up a learning plan for them to be able to go through other learning processes and learning platforms that they can use. And then it's, you know, we are continuously evaluating, and at the end of it, we also recognizing good performance and good mentorship programs that we have put up in place, and we are setting goals going forward. Okay. So what are some of, everything has principles, and like any good thing, what are some of the principles of designing a good mentoring process? The mentoring process should be designed, planned, and implemented, keeping in mind the following principles in mind. You know, the monitoring should motivate the mentee, invite active participation of the mentee, provide continuous and constructive feedback, fulfill purpose of mentoring and meeting organizational goals, providing opportunity for growth and development of the mentee. So great principles for us to be able to have the connection and have the framework that really works. So it also speaks into the responsibility of the mentor. But if we want it to work, we must make sure that it really talks into that. And we can put various things. What can motivate Catherine and what can motivate Rosemary? We are two different things. So we also put in we take into consideration, how does motivation look like? What are some of the standard motivation things that we can put in place so that nobody feels that they are not accommodated, you know, in those kind of circumstances. We go on to say that a good process should also involve providing opportunities for applying for mentoring advice, include on-the-job training, try to include away from the job training of opportunities. Those are the other things that we can do away from just work. Even me, I'm a person, I need to have other things that can motivate me and grow me as an individual. What we have said, include a proper and effective implementation of the monitoring plan. That's the real thing, the rubber that meets the road, what we had talked about before, and be delivered in an open, efficient, and consistent manner. Fearless environment, that's what it speaks into. That's easy, unless there's any question there. Any question around the design of the mentoring program in your organization or the mentoring process? Feel free to let me know. Okay, so let's move on into how do we planning for mentoring and coaching others, you know. So there's a process, and it's almost just a recap of what we've been discussing. We want to make sure that define where the employee is currently in their coaching process. They could be new. Even if you are new, you come with your education and your degrees and the knowledge that you have gained over time. You are not green. So we can't assume that we can't say this is where we need to start from. We also need to involve in that process. If you've been there for a long period of time, we also need to find out where are you currently? What do you want? What are your aspirations? What are your desires? So we need to involve people. We can't just say, hey, go to, you are ripe for coaching, you are ripe for mentoring, please go. We need to involve the person. What position are you coaching for? What key skills should you have identified for coaching to higher positions? What is the experience, education of the training schedules? What has changed since your last coaching or mentoring review? What has changed inside your company, which might alter your coaching plan? So we have the mentor now. We have the mentor and we have the mentee. So as we plan and we want to keep to a certain goal and to make sure that that is being achieved, we must structure it in such a way that both of us understand. And some of these questions that we are asking for us to have clarity and for someone to be motivated to do more and to excel in what they want to achieve. Okay, so these are just questions. I won't can read them as we go along. How have the current candidates' performance been to date? What jobs have changed and how have they changed since their last coaching process? We need to define the plan of their coaching process in light of their current coaching plan. What can they identify? Has been identified? If coaching efforts did not work out as expected, what else was put in place for them? What will the scenario be in 3 to 5 years of your candidates, and what will your key people be doing for them? Okay, so that's really important, because then 5 years, have you mapped out 5 years from now the people that you have in your organization as you continue to coach and to mentor them? Where do you see them in the next 5 years? What kind of positions will they be taking in the organization? How will you make sure that you can still retain them and they still continue to feel that this is the place that I want to work? Working is not just about earning your end of month salary, the benefits that you get, but how are you stretching your people to know that this is the place that I really want to be 5 years from now? If someone comes to you on Monday and say, 5 years from now, tell me my plan, do you have it? And say, well, even me, 5 years, we don't know. You know, jui kama tutakuwa hai, kama tutakuwa tumetoka, kama kampuni itakuwa. So let's all those, you are assured of all those, you know, but then you say, how is it? Do you have a really mapped out way of career succession, career planning, progression, for you to be able to tell them exactly what it is and what they need to do to get to that place? What openings will you coach for to fill and attract position for promotion and expansion? Okay. What new disciplines will your company acquire? New skills. We see that technology is the way to be. So are you ready to make sure that the people who are coming in can be able to support the business? And even if they're internally, are you reskilling and upskilling? Who will be involved in the coaching process? Are you putting up a pool of coaches for you to be able to make sure that the requirements that the organization has is able to meet them? What new opportunities will emerge which may lead to the change in the coaching plan and objectives or tactics? When will each part of the coaching process start and end, and how will you judge their progress? Like what we said, these are just questions to guide you when you are developing and planning for coaching for others. How will you judge if candidate demonstrates progress towards meeting the coaching requirements as they have been established? And finally, we go on to say that what coaching alternatives can you offer for those who are not meeting the expectations? What does your coaching plan fit with your expectations of where the company, the market, and the internal and external situations are likely to be going? Define how long you will get. You'll define how you will get from where you already are today to what you want the candidate to look at the end of the current coaching plan. On what basis will you determine if someone is not progressing, and what can you do to help personal development to their full extent? And finally, what do you do next once the coaching plan is in place and people in the process of being groomed for higher responsibilities and positions? What will you put in place? Because there's only one CEO. The CEO is not going tomorrow. They are young, they are doing a fantastic job. Everybody believes in their vision, in their leadership. But now you've groomed all of us to be the next CEOs. So this is something that you need to figure out, that as you progress people, as you coach people for the next big thing in your organization, how are you meeting the expectations in saying that, okay, fine, now I want to be the CEO tomorrow. You promised me. I think those promises should be very well discussed before all this is being done, so that people feel that there's the need to stay. I'm gaining the skill as when a position occurs, then I'll be ready for it. Okay. So any question in terms of planning the coaching for others? The questions that you can ask, why you are doing them very well. Good questions for you to make your plan in terms of coaching. Well, people who are new into the business and also people who are already in the business. Okay, let's move on. Elements of an effective coaching process. So what are the key elements of an effective coaching mentoring process? Sorry, there's the role clarification, like what we have said. There's the goal alignment. There is the ongoing feedback. There's ongoing performance monitoring. So things that we know. Developmental goal setting, coaching and support, standardization, and training of coaches so that they can be able to support you in doing that. Okay. Continuous and open communication, mutual trust and confidence, reliability, and monitoring reviews. We've talked about this. It's just a recap of our discussions that we have had. Okay. So what are some of the factors affecting monitoring process? Okay, so there are many things that affect the monitoring process, and some of them that we've discussed before, but we just want to reference some of them real quick here. Because we put programs in the organization, but we are sometimes it's very difficult for us to be able to monitor them and see where the challenge is, and to come out and say it's challenging and maybe we need to give it a pause and rethink about it, or maybe this program is not working for us, let's do away with it completely, or can we change the course of it? Sometimes we are so strained to keep to hold on to something because we think, oh, we use too much time, we use too much money, we invested too much in people, but the results are not being seen. So why should we struggle in staying there? Can we redesign? Because the only thing that is not constant in life, change is the only constant. So we also need to be aware of us. The success or failure of a monitoring process depends upon several things, such as the mentor should use positive and motivational techniques, like what we said, keep people building that rapport. The mentee should be allowed to participate more in the monitoring process. It will help the mentee to be more satisfied with their mentoring advice. I am the one coming to ask questions. Hey, boss, you excelled in that project. I want to know what you did. You've been working in this project for 6 months. So let the mentee be the one exploring. Let the mentee be the one in the foreground compared to you, and you're just listening and answering appropriately as the answers are being, as the questions are being posed to you. It will help the mentee be more satisfied with the mentor, build that trust and relationship and confidence. It will make them more likely to accept and meet performance improvement objectives. Okay, we go on to say that both the mentor and the mentee should both participate in a mutually setting performance standard and objectives. We should focus on discussing and providing solutions to problems. That is very, very helpful. Both the mentor and the mentee should employ more thought and preparation before the feedback session. I said, you can't just come in and start saying, well, we are here, what are we discussing today? Both of us should have an agenda before. The monitoring process should be more beneficial if the mentee will be more beneficial if the mentee perceives that mentoring results are tied to his career rewards. So I'm being mentored, and what does it look like in the end? How progressive will I be? If it is tied to my career progression, then you have a better outcome in terms of the mentorship process and the success that it's able to achieve. So some of the steps in monitoring process. The following are some of the steps for monitoring process. Develop a communication strategy, like what we said. Identify the expected behaviors and competencies, set the boundaries, determine criteria, strengths and weaknesses of your mentee, identify current and future competencies and growth that need to be built as the mentoring process is ongoing, So that is important, because then if we don't do this, if we don't have a structured way of mentoring someone, we will not get the intended results, okay? So develop an evaluation strategy. What evaluation criteria are we going to use? Create assessment and selection tools. Supplement job functions to include management and soft skills, both technical and the soft skills. Identify gaps in future and required competence levels. Okay. And finally, develop individual development plans for employees. That's the thing, is that no two mentees are the same. My individual learning plan and XYZ learning plans are very different. And right now, what we are talking about in organizations is we have standards, we have policies, yes, we have procedures, but we also need to look at the individual from a very bespoke point of view. That my development plans are very different from the other person. We could also be in the same department. All of us may be here in one, let's say we work on an organization that has 1,000 employees, and 20 of us here are in the HR department. Your development plans are very different from mine. Even if we have a way that the organization really develops people, and it has a clear career progression, there are some things that we need to talk to about me as an individual, because then my behaviors, my strengths and weaknesses are different. So you'll have a development plan, especially geared to me as an individual. The technical skills could be the same, but me as an individual, and that's the only time I will feel that there's a real good connection with the organization and it wants the best for me. So we go on to say is that we need to develop and implement monitoring programs, assist with leadership, transactions and development, and develop and evaluate plans for leadership roles. Moving fast, okay. So what are the characteristics of an effective monitoring process? So we've looked at some of the things and the framework that we need to whatever. So when, like anything else, if you're going to make it efficient, characteristics of my monitoring of this mentorship program, and we are going to put it there, and who's going to evaluate it, we need to have, it has to have some clear characteristics for it to be known that it's tried and tested and people can believe in it. So some of the things it must make sure that it has, it is clear, it's clear in elevating the goals, it's results driven, it has a results driven culture structure, and finally it has competent members. You remember where we said, oh, who's in that committee? And then we realize it is this and this and this person, it should be foolproof enough for people to believe in it, and they know that the monitoring framework that we have in our organization works and works well. An effective monitoring process provides support from both inside and outside. It needs to meet the individual needs of its mentees in order to achieve their organizational goals. It has a unified commitment. It has a collaborative climate, and it has standards of excellence. An effective monitoring process provides support from both, that's the same thing. So we're just looking at the characteristics of it. External support and recognition, principled leadership, and active for communication. And finally, it should make sure that the goals are clearly understood. There's innovative thinking and critical thinking at the same time, and it has active listening and feedback. So that will make sure that the characteristics, what are the characteristics of our organization? So the same thing, that anything that we put in place should have clear characteristics for it to be efficient. Okay, any question there? Moving in pretty fast, some of the theories and some of the principles, sometimes they can be a bit heavy. Any question there? Any question before we go to the last slide? So let's look at some of the things that we need to make sure that we are giving feedback on our monitoring, on the mentoring. So of course, it must make sure that it takes initiative, it has respect, and it is risk-taking. Anything that doesn't have risk, then it's not good. It also goes on to say that it is supportive, it has effective communication, it sets realistic goals and deadlines. Okay. What do mentees expect from mentors as well? So the mentor already has expectations of the mentor should have expectations, and we have seen from the mentee. In this regard, also me as a mentor, what should I expect from my mentor, honestly? You know, so even if we are partners, but what really are some of the big ticket items that I should be expecting from my mentor? Some expectations as a mentor, as we go through the mentoring process, some of them are capability improvement. The mentor needs to acknowledge the hard work that mentees and appreciate them in front of others, give them their due credit, and make them feel important. So if I'm making progress, my mentor should come and drum up support and say, whoa, you know, we can see the improvement that you're making, Catherine, and it's good. We are happy for it. Yeah. Every mentee expects his or her mentor to be polite, you know, and respectful. That's what we say. Lend a sympathetic ear or empathetic ear during hard discussions and difficult discussions. We also need to know that they need to give guidance and support. Expect their mentor to act as a strong pillar of support. I know they can take the bullet for me, because then they are giving me the guidance, they're giving me honest feedback, and they can suggest new ways of improvement and strategies. The other one is that they should role model through their behavior, through their reputation, you know, their demeanor. We are not saying that we are perfect human beings, but the role of a mentor calls for a lot. People look up to you, and that's why they come to you in confidence for you to mentor them. Mentees expect their mentors to be their role models and create a style of their own uniqueness. Open communication, that's rather obvious, and it is important. Encourage a two-way, open and honest communication that is authentic, that is interesting, that is engaging, both verbal and non-verbal, for you to have a good connection and deepen the trust and build rapport as you go along. And liberty, not too rigid, you know, you can do a high five, you can, when you get to know them better, I don't know whether you can go to their parties, that's topic of discussion for another day, but also give them and empower them to work in their own way, because people have different styles of learning and different styles of execution within the standard expected framework. So finally, equality, treat everyone without any biasness. As we talked about diversity and inclusion, it's very important for us to be able to look into that. And then finally, the second last one is fair treatment. Be open and fair about evaluating each mentee's performance. You know, and that's why we said the criteria and the characteristics must always be met, and every mentor needs to understand and know the characteristics and the process of how to monitor, evaluate the mentee. And finally, connect at personal level. You know, those banter talks that you get that connection. So connect on a personal level as well, inquire about their individual progress, you know, connect with them at that level where even when they're second guessing themselves, you can be able to help them and say, well, let's talk about this. Why are you second guessing yourself? What could be the problem? If they have any personal concerns, they know that they can talk to you and they can know that you can support them while at it keeping things confidential. Okay. Any question? Any question? Moving pretty fast. I know we are well ahead of time, but I guess the other discussions that we had earlier really makes good for this discussion. Any question? Things that you have seen that you can do differently before we just go to the last one? Types of feedback. Types of feedback. Okay, very quickly. So I guess feedback is a good gift to give anybody. There are two types of people in the world: people who are open to feedback and people who are averse to feedback. Think about yourself right now and say, are you open to feedback or are you averse to feedback? And why are people averse to feedback? Let's open that so that we just do a review of this section, and then I can highlight on the notes and we can call it a day before Esther comes in tomorrow. Why are people averse to feedback?
Maybe I could try.
Thank you.
Sometimes people have been hurt. There's a lot in terms of history. There's a lot in terms of how people, where they have come from. And so it's not that they are averse, but they have been dealt a blow before. I think that is why you must do a sort of form of SWOT when you are starting with someone, because then it can tell you whether these people, how you need to manage their feelings. And probably that is where the emotional intelligence aspect comes in. How do you manage them? Maybe just using the word evaluation makes them completely close, you know, a form of shutdown, because probably that is where pain came in maybe one of their former engagements. So I think there is a historical issue there.
Yeah, there could be how feedback was given to you in the previous past was in a very negative way. It was very brushful. You were not happy about it. And then you just think, wow, if this is how feedback, and I had tried maybe so hard to do this work and to showcase my one and all, but it was the kind of feedback that I got wasn't good. So that carries on for a long period of time. Has someone else?
I think I can try. I think sometimes, depending on the culture of the organization, some people could be in a very toxic environment where getting back at someone, they use feedback, time, your evaluation as a way to get back at you. So every time you do not see as that helping to improve you, but it's just something to get at you. I think that could also contribute.
Exactly. The kind of environment that we have, toxic environment, you know, and a toxic culture that does not accommodate feedback. So every feedback you just get is negative. There's nothing ever good we do here. So you become averse to feedback. After all, even if I do anything good, I'll never get it. This kind of environment, everybody is always talking over the other. They are not not talking to each other. So very unfortunate. And we know that the organizations which really have a toxic culture, and where it comes from, we need to have that discussion another day, because then by the time we all hope that it's a thriving culture, an open culture, a culture that accommodates everyone, but it's It's not a good culture. And I don't know who creates it, but all the same, here we are. Someone else, please. Why are people averse to feedback? Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Catherine. Someone else? Yeah. So the role of feedback cannot be underestimated in any mentoring and coaching circumstances and aspects, because then I'm coaching you, then you're going back to your workplace. I'm seeing you implementing what we discussed. I'm observing and I'm just thinking, whoa, from where you came from to where we are, we've come a long way, and well done. So that discussion, the continuous feedback, the conversations are really what motivates people to do more and to want to do more. It's also, we have a hard stop around, let's have that discussion and let's see how you've performed. So there's the informal feedback and there's the formal feedback. When we give it, people always welcome. But also let's create cultures where people are happy to solicit for feedback, both difficult feedback and positive feedback, negative feedback, and they know that it's in their best interest that they need to improve if it's negative feedback. We're also moving from criticizing to critiquing. So for people to be able to accept feedback that is difficult. There's also the school of thought that I should give you feedback. I should start with the good things that you do. And I tell you, oh, but but and then you end up with some of the action points that need to be done. Fair enough. I think human beings and people, even under circumstances of you have to break bad news to someone, we have to look for a time and an opportunity, and the best way to break that difficult information, maybe it's the loss of a loved one. But all the same is that feedback that is negative should be given as soon as possible. We should also we should say it in a way that is factual, and the other person is left thinking, oh, I now understand where this thing is coming from, without thinking that you're attacking the person. Of course, the person receiving the information will still feel, will still feel bad. Think about every time you get feedback or someone attacks you and you just think, this is not good. Let's talk about issues and not the person. Let's separate those two. You get a better outcome, and that's why we are moving from criticizing to critiquing, for us to be able to get a better outcome. So whether you choose to start with some of the good things that they do and get into some of the things that need to be improved on, or the situation that brings us to the table, weigh the situation and find out. If you choose to come and say, well, what brings us to the table this afternoon, and I would like to give you feedback. I would like us to discuss and also give you my feedback around this issue. It's still the same. You'll still end up giving that information. But I think it's the way that feedback and that conversation is had that gives you a better outcome for you to be able to improve that person and also keep the relationship going. Okay, so it's a skill. Giving feedback is a skill that we need to learn. So whether it's a mentor that we are talking about, being very specific around goals that needs to be achieved, also those goals, even if they could be goals that accelerate their learning in this organization, we must see them translating into fruits, bearing fruits in how they work. And that bearing fruits will need to be evaluated in terms of how they're doing. And evaluating that, the results, will need to have a discussion. And that's the discussion that we call feedback, that gives an outcome of some actions that need to be done going forward, because nobody is perfect. So we go to say that the role of giving of feedback is important. It plays an essential part in any monitoring and coaching process. review the mentoring process, make the plans, reinforce strategies and improve performance, and review the work, analyze any problems or challenges, and compile lessons, questions, and identify areas that need further support. So types of feedbacks, we all know there is positive and negative approaches to giving feedback, like being indirect. You're not saying what it is, you're pussyfooting and just thinking, oh, well, I don't want to upset you. And if you are, your character is that one of an indecisive person, you grapple and you wonder, I don't want to upset the status quo. You find it difficult as the mentor or as the supervisor to be able to give feedback. Being insensitive, approach of being insensitive, not caring about the other person, being disrespectful, using foul language or language that is not acceptable, being impulsive, let me give you feedback right now, instead of really thinking through, this has happened. Yes, it has happened, but let me even just count to 5 and just be more reflective in terms of what I will say. Because once you say something, and once even you write it down and send it, in the heat of the moment, it's already gone. It's very hard to undo it and say, well, I'm very sorry, it didn't mean to come out like that. But the person has already received it and, you've just spoiled their day. Being selfish, either not giving feedback or giving feedback in a way that makes the other person know that I'm the boss here. You need to watch out, okay? So being very general, not being specific, it's like coming to the department and saying, everything is not going well. You've said the statement, yes, but be specific as to why things are not going well. Oh, well done. Keep doing the good job. Be specific. You deliver this very difficult project while on time, and we value that you went out of your way to put in extra hours to be able to do that. Be very specific. General doesn't work for anyone. Okay, say we do a good job. We don't know what exactly it means. Attacking, poor timing, when we give the feedback, and being judgmental. Remember, we judge others using our own standards, and that's why, because we know that could happen, we have standards, ways, and processes and procedures to do things in an organization. Okay. Positive and negative feedback approaches, types of feedback could be you need to helpful. Now, from negative feedback to giving feedback that will be supportive to the other person, So one that is helpful, where you come and say, this is happening, and someone is, anyway, I let you guys down. Next time I won't do that. You are sensitive to the person, it could be a hard day for them. They could be going through difficult circumstances, and come and say, despite the circumstances that we are going through, you are going through, allow me to give you this difficult feedback as well. And let me know, would you want to receive it now? Would you want to receive it later? And let's be that, yeah. So be direct, don't beat about the bush, be direct, be kind, be cordial, be thoughtful around it, be supportive, be very descriptive. This is what happened. Be considerate of the other person and their circumstances. Have a healthy timing. If really you don't have to give that feedback and you need to give it next week, or let's go for the weekend, and they are getting married this weekend, and then you just put a bombshell that we are letting you go. Let the person go, honestly. We are thinking of letting you go. After all, you've been a poor performer and their wedding is tomorrow. Oh my gosh, how bad can you be? They'll never forget you in life, and be very specific in where you are. Okay, great. So that marks the end of how to give feedback while monitoring. Is be direct and specific. Never get personal. We've talked about that. Develop an action point for information gathering. Encourage the mentee to talk as well. You can't be the only one who's talking, and not giving the other person an opportunity to talk. Okay, great. So that marks the end of our first part lesson, one part lesson. Irene will, Esther will take up from tomorrow. I don't know whether, Esther, you're on the line. You'd like to say hello and just, or you want to leave that for tomorrow?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Catherine. That was very good. I followed through now. I know where to pick from tomorrow.
Yeah.
Asante sana.
Karibu
And
sana.
happy Eid for everyone.
Yes,
Thank you.
yeah, happy Eid, yeah. Thank you, Esther. We look forward to having you tomorrow. So I open the question to plenary, feedback, taking away anything that informative. What would you like to? Anything that you would like to share before we call it an afternoon? You know, I'm really gone over time, but thank you for your sharing. Anything, Jane?
Thank you for the session.